What's up, nerds, and welcome to the Biss Ball podcast. Today we're going to react to round one of the NFL draft. We're going to be taking a look at whose dynasty stock is rising, whose dynasty stock is falling, who we're saying RIP to for their fantasy value, maybe somebody whose value got absolutely demolished through this draft or through the first round of the draft. We're going to take a look at the dynasty landscape. We're also going to take a look at a dynasty trade that went down in one of my dynasty leagues. So let's start right off the rip with the 101 Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans. One word to describe this pick is expected. We've all known this for about a month or multiple months now that Cam Ward would be the 101 to the Tennessee Titans. They gave Will Levis a shot. Definitely was not the answer for them at QB. So they go 101 Cam Ward. They're back in the same position. Obviously, Will Levis did not work out. So Cam Ward, being the 101, he's going to have every opportunity to be successful and or fail for that matter, right? If not the Tennessee Titans, we see all the time, all these high round one draft picks getting multiple shots to be a starter and or a shot at backup to possibly be a starter here in the NFL. Cam Ward will be no different. Let's take a look at his weapons. So Cam Ward comes into a situation where he's got Calvin Ridley, who had over 1,000 yards receiving last year with Will Levis. Makes good, right? Calvin Ridley, he's a little bit older, but he took a couple years off, so he's kind of still fresh. I believe in Calvin Ridley, a player. He's on my dynasty roster, so I'm obligated to believe in him. But I like Ridley. Just before the draft, like the day before, they traded for Tyler Lockett. Again, another aging wide receiver, so not like super exciting or super high upside, but I think it helps Cam Ward. Short-handed, knows how to get open. Definitely on the backside of his career. He maybe only has like this year of productive value left, but Tyler Lockett makes good in this wide receiver room, brings some stability, some veteran presence. You're also looking at Treylon Burks. Has been disappointing so far. I wouldn't count on Treylon Burks, so you're looking at Ridley and Lockett. In the backfield, you have Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, both capable pass catchers if he wants to check it down or some wide receiver screens. And you have a tight end that has shown some promise in Chig Okonkwo. As far as Cam Ward, if you're looking at the prospect, he escapes pressure. He looks to drive the ball down the field. He will run if he has to, like he has that ability, but that's not his first, instinct or his first read, right? He's really looking to push the ball down the field, which brings me to the next point. He has a little like Caleb Williams-esque in him, where he's kind of in college. He was looking to play hero. He was criticized for playing a little bit hero ball, and really like even if the play wasn't there, to try to like force it in or like really chuck that ball down the field. Probably will not work in the NFL. Let's see if he makes that adjustment. The other concern about him was his arm angle. Again, a little bit of, if we're making some comps here, I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, but he throws it at some different arm angles similar to Patrick Mahomes. He's not considered the safest pick or the safest QB in this draft class, but certainly one of the ones that has the most upside. We're going to talk about Jackson Dart in a minute here, but him and Jackson Dart definitely have more upside. There were safer options, I believe, in the draft for QBs. Shedeur Sanders, who slipped out of the first round. Let's see if he gets taken in day 2. But, Cam Ward makes good, the 101. My suggestion, with the landing spot, not lining up for some of these other players that we're going to talk about. Like we were super hyped to get, some position players or skill players in some of these needy teams. It didn't necessarily happen in round 1. So the landscape being what it is right now, I would be comfortable selecting Cam Ward in a rookie draft anywhere from 103 on. If he falls past 103, I would feel comfortable scooping him up and seeing what I have, especially if I'm a QB needy team. Our next quarterback that we're going to talk about is kind of interesting. He gained some steam really getting as it got closer to the draft, but Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart goes to the New York Giants. They traded back they had a high first round pick. They didn't select a QB there. They went edge rusher, Abdul Carter from Penn State. But they traded back into the first round, pick 25, to grab Jackson Dart. Now, we know in the offseason they brought in Jameis. Yay! Everybody was so excited, especially for not Giants fans maybe because, they weren't winning a lot of games. But, for us fantasy managers, Malik Neighbors, we were super excited for Jameis chucking the ball down the field to Malik, right? Then they bring in Russ. Boo, right? We were not happy about Russ coming in as fantasy managers. And I don't think the New York Giants fans were happy about Russ either. So they know they don't, like both are, James is 35, Russ is 30-something, probably mid-30s or around that. Like, they know that they're not the long-term answer. So they trade back into the first round, they grab Jackson Dart. How the questions around Dart is how soon will he see the field, first and foremost, right? So you brought in Jameis, you brought in Russ. How quick does he get onto the field? Does he see the field at all in year one? Does he start halfway through if they're not winning games? Like, what does that look like, right? So there's some questions, there's some cloudiness around there. The other one is, Dart had like insane production at Ole Miss, but the criticism with him and Trey Harris coming out of Ole Miss was that just the Lane Kiffin offense and scheme? Will he be able to, kind of duplicate that or be a productive quarterback here in the NFL? The jury is still out. I've seen the comparison of Danny Dimes and Johnny Manziel, and honestly, after watching the draft and watching his tape, I can't unsee it right now. But Danny Dimes, he had for fantasy, he was decent, right? So if he's a better Danny Dimes with a little like Johnny Manziel swag, I don't hate it. So Jackson Dart to the New York Giants, if not knowing if he's going to see the field in year one, I would be comfortable taking him in a Superflex league and he mid on, so 106 to whatever in the first round. I don't think he gets out of the first round in rookie drafts. He was a first round QB here, so he'll get snagged. So anywhere I think 106 on is where I'd be targeting to get Dart in these upcoming rookie drafts. All right, moving on to the wide receivers. We have the first wide receiver off the board. It came 102, and it came as Travis Hunter. Now, we were expecting Travis Hunter to go top 3, but we were not expecting someone to trade up into one of those spots to go and grab him. So the Jacksonville Jaguars pay a king's ransom to move up in the draft. They were at 5. They move up to 2. They snag Travis Hunter. Now, again, they gave up a lot. And I don't see a team giving up that much to not use him to his full potential, right? And, everybody's going crazy about how he got introduced. He got introduced as both, right, wide receiver and cornerback, but they announced the wide receiver first. I think the Jags are going to let Travis Hunter do what Travis Hunter does, which is very exciting for us fantasy players. He's still a tough nut to crack, right? You don't know, though. You're not sure how many snaps is he actually going to get as a wide receiver? What's the split going to look like? But I think, based on what they did, I think he might be safe at the wide receiver position. And like we said, coming in, if Hunter was a full-time wide receiver, he'd be by far and away the number 1 wide receiver in this class. So that's exciting. Okay. The toughest player, he's the toughest player to clock right now. The talent is undeniable. I feel comfortable selecting Travis Hunter now, knowing what we know now, in the mid first. So you're looking at I would say 104, 105, 106 is probably where he's going to go in these rookie drafts for the most part, unless someone decides they truly believe in them, they want to reach. So that's where I would select him in my rookie drafts. Coming in at number 108, pick 108 to the Carolina Panthers was Teterola McMillan, or T-Mac. He joins Bryce Young, who took a step forward in year 2, but he had a terrible rookie season. He had a new coaching staff come in last year, so were they the QB whisperer? Do they get him back on track? Does he take another step forward now? We'll see. The wide receiver room he walks into is Adam Thielen, old man Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette, their wide receiver choice last year, and also Jalen Coker, who I believe they also took in the draft last year. He's a big contested catch receiver. We talked about him on another episode. Think more like Drake London, Mike Evans, kind of that big frame contested catch. He's not a yard after catch guy. That is not his thing. His superpower is his contested catches, which always makes him a threat in the end zone. He's big, he's fast. Can he separate in the NFL? We'll see. About to find out. But I believe Tet should be selected anywhere between the 103 and the 106 here in rookie drafts. He has a chance to be the number 1 on that team. Some of the other landing spots that we'll talk about, the guys I don't think have as great of a chance to become that number 1. And I think he helps Xavier Legette too. The player I'm most concerned with Tech coming in is the guy that I believed in coming in. I picked him up off of waivers is Jalen Coker. So R.I.P. Jalen Coker. But yeah, Ted McMillan has a chance to be the one. I would select him anywhere from the 103 to 106 coming up in Superflex rookie drafts. Emeka Egbuka, pick 19, round 1, pick 19 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We did not see this coming. We did not think Tampa Bay was in the market for another receiver. Speaking of another receiver, the room he walks into, you're looking at Mike Evans, the alpha, Chris Godwin, the 1B if healthy. Jalen McMillan, which showed a ton of promise last year, especially in the absence of Chris Godwin. We had these Jalen McMillan owners were, super excited coming into this year, hoping that they didn't re-sign Chris Godwin, but they did. This is an interesting pick in the first round for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The offense is fantastic as far as the landing spot, right? But what is he really? What market share does he grow? Is he able to establish with Baker? Because Baker's got a ton of weapons. Like the wide receivers I just named, you have Bucky Irving, you have Kate and there's a lot there. But the offense is great, and this is a huge upgrade only helps Baker Mayfield. So I love Baker Mayfield coming into this year, and we'll talk about that in another podcast. He has. My initial reaction was disappointment for him, right? I was hoping he would go to a more wide receiver needy team where he could step in and vie for maybe the 1 or 2 spot. But I was sad for him and disappointed, and I was sad for Jalen McMillan. I believed in Jalen McMillan. I tried to acquire him in Dynasty. Chet wasn't willing to give him up, but I tried, and I believed in him, especially even with the Godwin signing. I was excited for him. 2 years from now, with Evans and Godwin kind of aging out, I can see a path for him to become the 1 or 2 in that offense with Baker. But year 1, I think you might be. You have to temper your expectations coming into year 1. He's a great target for teams that are looking to get young and they don't need him to kind of like start right away. But if you're a contender looking to make a run at the championship this year, I don't think Egbuka is your guy. If you need somebody to start, I would be selecting Egbuka even given the information, maybe back in the first, maybe like 107 on there, 107 to 109 ish, and like I said, R.I.P. Jalen McMillan's fantasy value, which makes me sad, but it is what it is. Matthew Golden coming in at the 23rd pick in the first round, going to the Green Bay Packers. The draft was hosted at Lambeau, so he got a huge ovation. It was the first time they selected I believe a first-round wide receiver or wide receiver at all since like 2002 in the draft, which is kind of wild. But he joins Jordan Love in a well-schemed and well-coached offense and team. I'm excited. Matthew Golden is fast. He jumped into the first round. I think before the combine he was borderline, but he really jumped into the first round based on his combine. He ran a 4.240. I'm going fast, boy. That boy is fast. His production came into question. He played well when the lights were on and when it mattered, but his production was shaky and inconsistent throughout the year. He's an undersized outside receiver. He's going to play the X, which is also a concern. He walks into a wide receiver with Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Dotavian Wicks, Bo Melton. For me, it's R.I.P. Romeo Doubs, who wasn't like a superstar wide receiver in fantasy, but he was a contributor. He's like, you could stream him or slot him in from week to week. His superpowers are his speed, his athleticism, and his playmaking ability. Right. I view Matthew Golden as definitely a boom bust. But if he booms, Mama, watch out, because that boy can boom, and that boy can go fast. So that's my Matthew Golden. I would say, again, I would say back in the first. We're still waiting on some of these spots to come in for these running backs. So back in the first, I'd be comfortable taking Matthew Golden and seeing if I got a superstar or not. Now it's on to the running backs. Ashton Genty, picked with the 6th pick overall in the first round. He was the belle of the ball. both from this running back class, which has been touted to be super deep and super talented, and in fantasy. It was basically consensus 101 going into the draft, and I believe his landing spot with the Las Vegas Raiders just cemented that. He goes to this running back needy team and is immediately the man, right? We're not worried about Mostert. We're not worried about Sincere McCormick, right? Pete Carroll gets his Marshawn Lynch, and watch out. He does everything. He's elusive. He can catch the ball. He's explosive. He's fast. He is the blue chip prospect that we were looking for in this draft. He's a top 3 dynasty running back already. I believe he'll slip into the first round or jump into the first round in redraft leagues this year. I like this for Vegas, the Vegas offense in general, right? So I believe this helps Brock Bowers. I believe this helps Jacoby Myers. I believe this helps Geno Smith. All of it. The Raiders are turning into a fun team right now. So let's see what they do here in rounds 2 and 3 in day 2. But I like this Ashton Jeanty pick, not so much for the team, but definitely for fantasy owners. I don't have the 101, so I won't get any Jeanty, maybe in redraft leagues, but I will not get Jeanty. But for Unibrow, Mark the Shark, enjoy Ashton Jeanty. That's going to be a fun ride, right? What could go wrong? The second running back to be taken in the first round of last night's draft was Omarion Hampton, which was selected with the 22nd pick. He has a 3-down skill set, which we love to see. There's very few workhorse running backs left in the NFL. He has the opportunity to become one. Love that he went to the Chargers with John Harbaugh. He loves to establish the run. It's a great offense, great quarterback. I believe it's a great landing spot. You know who was not great for it? Najee Harris. So RIP Najee Harris. It was fun while that month or two while it lasted, people getting excited, possibly an RB1 season, double-digit touchdowns. No. Omarion Hampton will eventually take over that backfield. Najee doesn't miss time, which is nice, but you don't select a running back in the first round and not give him a ton of work. So not that Najee won't have a role, but by the end of the season, Omarion Hampton will have the vast majority of the production and role in that offense. And Najee only got a 1-year deal. If we're looking Dynasty 2 years down the road, Najee only got a 1-year deal. The other running backs this year that got 1-year deals, you're looking at like Javonte Williams and Rico Dowdle and Kareem Hunt. Like, he's in that category. They only paid him $5 million a year, so it's not like they gave him a ton of money. And like I said, he'll be an unrestricted free agent next year. Omarion Hampton, to the moon, early flag plant. Getting matched with the Chargers. It's a great destination. I love this for the Chargers, us fantasy owners, and Hampton himself. So my advice, I would be selecting Hampton with Hampton's firmly solidified himself as the 102 or the 103 here in Superflex Dynasty Draft. So if you have the 102 and 103, Hampton is a great target. Good luck. You won't get Jeanty, but Omarion Hampton could be your guy in the backfield. Colston Loveland, moving on to the tight ends. Colston Loveland was a top 10 pick to the Chicago Bears in the first round. Now, going into the draft process, I think consensus or the majority had the other tight end, Tyler Warren, ranked above Colston Loveland, but in the actual draft, Loveland went before Warren. So Loveland goes to the Bears with Ben Johnson. They got their Sam Laporta. He takes the tight end top 10. That they had the opportunity. They had the opportunity to take their Jahmyr Gibbs and get a running back, but they went and got their Sam Laporta. With Ben Johnson coming over, you can't help but make that Laporta, comp or case for Loveland to step in and be an immediate contributor year one. Another rookie tight end that might make a splash. If you're looking at that room, you're looking at DJ Moore, you're looking at Roma Dunze, and now Loveland. I would view Loveland as a top 3 target in that offense at the moment, which you love to see for your tight ends, right? You don't want them buried as the 4th or 5th read, right? So top 3 read in an emerging offense with Caleb Williams, you love to see it. If I need a tight end, I would be targeting Loveland in like the mid first round. If I'm set, I might be shopping that pick to a tight end needy team. And like I said, RIP Komet. The second tight end that went in the first round was Tyler Warren, projected to be the first, but went second. He only went a couple of picks behind Loveland, so he went at pick 14 to the Indianapolis Colts, who was a tight end needy team. They also need a QB. Warren played a little bit of QB in high school, so maybe are they thinking that? No, probably not. But the questions with all these Colts pass catchers, Josh Downs and Adonai Mitchell and Pittman, and now Tyler Warren, is who's going to get him the ball, right? Is it Richardson? Is it Danny Dimes? We need to figure that out, right? So Warren is versatile. He played in that like a wildcat in Penn State. He played that wildcat position a little bit, but he is an offensive weapon. If you have again that middle first round, middle to back with his landing spot, the 107, 109. I would either be targeting him or I would shop him, right? To a team that's looking to solidify that tight end position, right? You have two that went in the first round this year, so there's options there, which makes him a little less valuable, but still Warren is viewed as a possible answer to the tight end position, and I would sell him that way. So no RIPs here because they needed a tight end, but I'm excited to see what Tyler Warren does and what the Colts do with Tyler Warren and if they can figure out that QB situation. Okay, it is trade review time. Now, fair or finesse? So let's take a look. This is an actual trade that went down in my Dynasty league just about like a day or two, like maybe a day or two ago. So we have one side of the trade receives Trey Benson and the 2025 201 rookie pick, and they send away, and the other side receives Alvin Kamara. So let's start with the Kamara side, right? So Kamara is 29. He's finished as an RB1 7 out of 8 years, and the 1 year he didn't finish as an RB1, he finished, I believe, RB16 or something like that. So he's still like a top 20 running back. There's concerns about what that offense will look like. Questions about if Derek Carr's going to be ready for the start of the season. So who's going to be behind center? Spencer Rattler is not the answer. They didn't select a quarterback in the first round. They could have, and it was kind of mocked or thought that they might. That was specifically with the questions around Carr, but they did not. They did not select a quarterback, so they haven't figured out the quarterback yet or taken a quarterback. He's a great piece for a contending team. However, the team that acquired Alvin Kamara is not a contending team. They have the 201, so they have the 101, so they're going to get Genty, but they're not looking to compete right now, right? So I question the why you would acquire Kamara in this. But like, to me, unless he's looking to acquire Kamara and then sell him to a contender like in season and make moves that way, which might be smart. But just surface like face value. If I was a contending team, sure, making a push this year, Kamara would be a great piece to add to my backfield, right? It's a depth piece, or like if I'm just missing that one running back, cool. But this person is not a contender. So I question the move and the thought process again, but maybe he's playing chess and I'm playing checkers, and he's going to sell him in season to a contender, which might be good. The other side is Trey Benson and the 201. So Benson, his value seems to be pushed one more year because they signed James Conner, which we talked about in another episode, but he could make his way onto the field. I believe in Benson. If I thought I had a chance of getting Benson, I'm looking at this trade. Like, if I thought I could get Benson, I would have made the Benson owner an offer. But this other person scooped him. Good for you. I believe in Benson. He could make his way onto the field through talent or injury. The 201, you're looking at, maybe some of the, so we're going into day 2 of the draft, maybe one of these day 2 wide receivers or day 2 running backs, because there should be a bunch taken in rounds 2 and 3 here. So you're maybe looking at that, or maybe a quarterback. If you need a quarterback, one of these quarterbacks that's falling right now. So Shador or Jalen Milroe or Sog or whatever his name is, could go round 2 or 3. So we'll see what happens. So given the context that I know, the 2 rosters and just looking at it in my league, I would award the winner of this trade to be the Benson side. So I like that side better, the Benson and the 201. Again, because I know the other team is trying to get younger and looking to make a push maybe a year or two from now. So getting younger at running back, getting another young piece in the rookie draft here with the 201, and being able to sell an aging Kamara. It makes sense to me. So I like the Benson trade. I think that owner did well for himself. But the great thing about Dynasty and fantasy football is you never know. So let's see how it plays out. This might not age well, but I like the Benson side. I wouldn't say finessed, but I questioned the Kamara, the person who acquired Kamara. I questioned, what they were thinking. But we'll see. Maybe it works out. Maybe he is looking to make a push. Maybe he comes from out of nowhere and does make a run at the chip. Who knows? But good luck, everybody. I'll catch you on the next podcast. Make sure you're following on socials at Biss Knows Ball, TikTok, Instagram. I think at Birdie Biscuits on X, and then Biss Knows Ball on YouTube. Obviously, be a friend, tell a friend. Hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you on the next one.